Welcome back to Agranak Studios. I'm DM Wisdom, and today we're going to take a look at Delve. So this comes from Bob World Builder and friends. You know, the guy that tried to guzzle a healing potion within 6 seconds to debunk the possibility of downing a potion as a 5e bonus action. I've watched his stuff and seen his channel grow over the years, and I was like, yeah, I'll back that. So in May of 2024, with a delivery promise of June 2025, I went all in. Well, actually not all in, I only got the ShadowDark version because, well, 5e. So I got this on Christmas Eve 2025 just a few days ago, so only 6 months late is not horrible for a Kickstarter that raised almost $500,000. There was 2 books offered, one that's compatible with 5e and the ShadowDark version, which I have here. I've not read through the entirety of the book, but it's more of a reference book anyway, consisting of 13 pre-made dungeons. It has some new races that include a deep spawn and a stoneborn. I remember when we used to play D&D to take down the monsters, not be one, but alas, you can don your fursuit and play a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. But who am I to tell you what is fun at your table? I am only the master at my own table. I read through the intro, and actually I was pleasantly surprised by its thoughtfulness. I waited for the Gygax bashing and didn't see any of it on my first read. Maybe I'll see it on my second. Either way, that was refreshing coming from the younger crowd of dungeon tubers that have way more subs than this channel. The people that contributed or helped include the likes of Jenny D and D&D Shorts, as well, of course, Robert Mason, aka Bob World Builder. I like the history it delved into within the first few pages, citing Castle Blackmore, Tomb of Horrors, Keep on the Borderlands, Caverns of Thracia, Ravenloft, and even 2014 D&D's Lost Mine of Phandelver. It gets into types of dungeons, speaking to the novice GM, which is great read even for an experienced DM to get refreshed on dungeons. They even mention John 4's 5-room dungeon design. They get into Janelle Jacquet's dungeon designs, which were revolutionary in the late 70s and early 80s, but have been pretty standard dungeon layout fare for the last 40 plus years. Nice to see the nod rather than stealing it and renaming the convention after yourself. They talk about building dungeons, dungeon themes, and as well as entrances, connections, traps, puzzles, etc. Really good stuff all packed in here and will be very useful in the future. There's a dungeon generation procedure, which is really handy. Nice tables and tidbits to give you a cohesive dungeon. Now, it doesn't really go into how to map out a dungeon. There are tons of examples, like from the references in here for dice and logos. But might I also mention Paths Peculiar, a great blog site to go and grab some maps from. I do understand why they didn't delve into that particular thing. Wink, wink. That would take a whole nother 300-page book. So they get into ancestries, and this is where they lose me. I think it's fun for a one-shot or a short series, but not for long-term games. I cannot see a deep spawn walking into a tavern in my world. They would be skewered and grilled up and turned into fish pies before the first round of mead was consumed. But again, to each their own. Deep Spawn, Graveborn, Medusae, Mycelian, Stoneborn. Then they have some new classes, the Golemancer, the Keeper, Nightcaller, the Relic Hunter, which to me seems the most viable class for an OSR type ShadowDark game, the Shadesworn, Shadow Dancer, which on first look reminds me of a blade singer, and the slime bender, which I'll have to admit does seem pretty cool. They have some spells and then dark mishaps for when you roll a natural 1. Then chapter 3 has 13 dungeons ready to go, which is arguably one of the strongest features from this book. If you are looking for a book of dungeons, this seems to be a great plug-and-play section that you could use for years. Each dungeon has a quick introduction, a QR code for access to cheat sheets, errata, and other helpful tools for running the dungeon, background hooks, the dungeon, general features, events outside the dungeon, a map, and then descriptions of everything that's in the map. They have everything from the lair of the Frog King, the shrine of the sunken star, the festering hive. That's a crazy looking bee with some sort of, well, infestation. The warren of the fetid hag, manor of the maestro, and so much more. So you can see that it's not just tombs and crypts, but also, grottos and obviously a manor. So it's a little bit of flavor from every sort of thing that can be considered a dungeon or a dungeon crawl. Now, there's nothing on the mega scale here, mega dungeons that is. So if you're a dungeon holic, this may not be what you're looking for. But if you're more like me and think dungeons should be wrapped up within 1 to 3 sessions, then this might be your jam. There's a bunch of magic items that are in here, all illustrated, statted out for ShadowDark, monsters for you to deal with, and all that wonderfulness. I love some of the creativity of these, like the box snail. Here's an eldritch horror. I like these putrefiers that they have in here. Living spellbook, a magic mephit. And they have a nymph in here, not anything new, but all of these monsters, I'm assuming, go in the 13 dungeons, so you have reference right here within this book. I love the play on words, zombies. Very cool. Then there's a great section on traps and hazards, which may be one of the most useful things for me personally as a reference section. Some of them have little diagrams that they show, which is really neat. So a bunch of these traps, I will definitely be including these within my dungeons. Effects and events as well. You have rival adventurers that are all statted out and ready to go. Here's some riddles ready to go. And then a page on dungeon contest rules, which is cool for maybe even a home game or even a convention game. And then the 10 tenets of delving. Now, this is a pretty hefty book with weighty pages, and it is stitch bound, and so it lays decently flat, and the more you use it, the more it will lay down. And it comes with a nifty ribbon. Always a nice touch. Nothing that is Kickstartered and then fulfilled through a foreign country should be without a ribbon. All in all, a decent buy. Necessary? Probably not. It was an impulse buy after all, but useful nonetheless. I was quite disappointed with the promise of a ShadowDark version. Sure, the stats and rules are aligned, but the art coming in just shy of $500,000, surely you could have hired some awesome black and white illustrators to populate the interior of the book, rather than reusing very 5e styled art. I was not happy with what seemed to be a cash grab for the use of the ShadowDark name, but not keeping with the ShadowDark aesthetic. That to me is very, very important. This is basically a 5e book on dungeons, reskinned for ShadowDark. Yes, Kelsey Dion did write the foreword to this book. It's a nice gesture, but poor layout execution in the art department alone. I'm glad that it will play well with ShadowDark, but this will be the first and only time my ShadowDark book will touch the Delve book. They will be on opposite ends of my bookshelf. So if you want to get this book, there will be a link down below. So go ahead and check that out. It's not an affiliate link. At least I don't think so. Unless it's through Drive-Thru RPG, then it will be affiliate. If not, it will be just a link for your convenience. If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a Patreon member. There you're going to find my own products and maps I've created. I'm working on my own campaign setting called the Saw Win campaign, and you can check that out. Also for the Red Hen tier and above, I'll send you out an Agranak cult patch. Alright everyone, thanks for stopping by Agranak Studios today, and we'll see you on the next one. Later!